At the beginning of the film, we observe the snowy mountains of Montana. The main character is observing the landscape while exercising on a trainer when his phone rings. Chris is chatting with his wife, who reminds him about the divorce papers. Jamie says that their relationship ended a long time ago. Chris insists that he stopped devoting time to the company and sold it, but the girl reminds him that he only did it for the money. He sighs and says he'll sign all the papers. Jamie talks to her daughter, who says she misses Chris and loves him. The girl admits that she also loves the man very much, but sometimes it is not enough to live together. Chris himself, meanwhile, goes to the supermarket and sees a girl with wet hair. Sky says she's had a lousy day and wants to smooth it out with a bottle of wine. Chris helps the girl choose the right kind. Outside, he meets Sky again. The girl says upset that the taxi driver canceled the ride, and Chris offers to drive her. Near the motel, Sky says that she lives with a not very adequate neighbor, with whom they often quarrel. A man offers to go to his house and wait for Lisa to fall asleep. Sky refuses and gets out of the car, but he hears screams outside the door. Chris drives up and repeats his offer. This time, the girl doesn't refuse. A strange man observes the car drive away from their windows. Chris brings the girl to his posh mansion. He says that he likes privacy and comfort, after which he pours wine. The couple drinks the wine and decides to get to know each other better. Chris tells her that he created a security app that Google recently bought from him for a large sum of money. Sky's story is not so posh, because she worked as a model for about 5 years, but then she realized that she was tired of being just a clothes hanger. Now the girl works part-time as a waitress and thinks about how she should live her life. Sky notices that one bottle isn't enough for them. Chris takes the girl to his cellar and shows her his expensive wine collection. Sky thanks the man for saving her from crazy Lisa. The girl is about to go home, however Chris suggests she stay. He kisses Sky, after which they stay alone. Morning comes. Chris looks around and realizes that the girl has left him. Sky, meanwhile, returns home and, ignoring a crying Lisa, locks herself in her room. In the evening, Chris decides to visit the bar where his new acquaintance works. Sky meets the man with a smile, and he decides to walk her home. On the way, the girl tells him that she lied about her parents, because since the age of 6, she has been wandering around foster families, most of which she doesn't want to remember. Near his car, the man sees a suspicious Korean man trying to break in. Chris suggests the guy step away from his car, as he doesn't want any trouble. However, Sky behaves defiantly and throws a bottle at him, which angers the Korean. With a crowbar, the thug breaks Chris's leg and then runs away. Sky takes the sad case to the hospital and then helps him get home. Chris is going to hire a nurse, but after thinking about it, he decides to choose his new acquaintance, who can make a great omelet in the morning, for this role. Sky is going into town for groceries and asks for the code to the house so she can get in if he suddenly falls asleep. The first thing the girl does is stop by the motel, where a crying Lisa is waiting for her. The girl asks Sky not to leave her, after which they kiss. Chris falls asleep on the couch and is awakened by a woman's voice. Hovering over him is Sky, who asks how her patient is feeling. The girl kisses Chris, and they spend the rest of the day together, chatting merrily and getting to know each other. The man is so infatuated with Sky that he even misses a call from his ex-wife. In the evening, Chris confesses that he has started to fall in love with the girl. Sky says she feels the same way. Early in the morning, Ronald, Lisa's landlord, decides to remind her about the rent. The man finds Lisa in the bathroom with deep wounds on her wrists. Ronald reports everything to the police. The sheriff finds it strange that they couldn't find Sky in any of their databases. Meanwhile, Chris talks to his wife and agrees to have her bring their daughter over for the weekend. He wanders around the house looking for Sky. Noticing that the girl is in the shower, Chris decides to have a look at her things, but noisily drops her purse. Sky appears and says she doesn't blame the man, as people are often not who they say they are. The girl then throws off her towel, and they are left alone. When Chris wakes up the next morning, he notices that his phone, which controls all the security systems in the house, is missing. He takes his crutches and starts looking for it around the house. While wandering around the house, Chris sees a news bulletin reporting a tragedy that happened at a motel. He is surprised to learn that Lisa has recently died. Soon, a pleased Sky returns home and decides to snack on some wings and gravy. Chris finds this odd, as models don't usually eat such things. Sky replies that she is no longer a model. The man continues to search for his phone, but Sky asks him to sit at the table with her and have a snack. The girl senses that something is wrong and asks Chris what happened. He reveals that he saw a news report on the news about the tragedy with Lisa. This news doesn't shock Sky in the least, and she continues to eat quietly. Soon, the girl confesses that it was she who destroyed Lisa. She was not a bad lover and neighbor, but too nosy. In addition, from Lisa's room with the help of a telescope, it was possible to quietly observe the man's house, which Sky did for 2 whole months. The girl reveals that she knows everything about Chris. Besides, she is the one who set up their meeting in the shop. The man demands that Sky get out, and then decides to go out himself. However, the girl blocks the doors with the very same missing phone, and then stuns Chris. He wakes up tied and sitting in a wheelchair. Sky tortures the sad case, trying to extract passwords from him to enrich herself. Meanwhile, Ronald decides to clean up Lisa's flat. A man discovers a telescope with which he spies a woman doing yoga. Ronald soon turns his gaze to Chris's house, where he discovers Sky torturing her captor. When the girl frees Chris's hand, he tries to strangle her, but loses. Sky blackmails the captive that her accomplice is spying on his wife and young daughter. Chris begs the girl not to hurt them. Soon, a Korean man, who turns out to be Sky's accomplice, visits the house. The girl is going to sell him wines, paintings, and furniture, promising that she will undress Chris to nothing. Soon, Sky leaves the house. Ronald, who notices this, decides to sneak in. First, the man gives Chris a long sermon about how no one is interested in his face or hobbies, only in the money he has made. Ronald removes the duct tape from the captive's mouth, but is in no hurry to release him. Chris guesses that he needs money and promises to give him any amount. However, Ronald doesn't believe the promises and asks for something really important. Chris offers the man a Picasso painting, which is worth $7 million. Ronald agrees and proceeds to free the captive. Chris asks to call the police, but it turns out that the man doesn't use the phone. At that moment, Sky comes home. The girl locks all the doors and looks at Ronald, armed with a knife, with a smile. In Sky's hands turns out to be a valuable and sharp samurai sword. The girl starts chasing Ronald, who tries to escape from her by wandering around the house with the painting. Meanwhile, Chris frees himself from the duct tape and goes outside. His car turns out to be locked, and he gets on his motorbike to escape the trap and call the police. Meanwhile, Sky takes Ronald's life and ruins an expensive painting. Chris rolls rapidly through the snow, but fails to notice a small obstacle. He flies off the snowmobile and falls on the road in front of the car. Fortunately, the driver stops in time. Sebastian helps the fugitive up and puts him in his car. The man also gives Chris a phone, having previously dialed the police. He begins to talk about being captured and beaten when he suddenly realizes that they are approaching his house. Sebastian turns out to be Sky's accomplice, who spoke to him on the phone. The girl leaves the men for a while and asks them not to quarrel. Sebastian reveals that he was Sky's foster father, and, when her mom accidentally died, had an affair with the girl. At night, Chris hears Sebastian engaging in night games with his stepdaughter. Later, Chris talks to the girl and tells her that he would give her a house and money, because he has truly fallen in love with her. Sky doesn't believe him, and informs him that they need to retrieve $14 million worth of bonds from the vault. A fingerprint is needed to enter the bank, and Sebastian cuts off the captive's finger. The next day, Jamie and her daughter arrive at the house. The woman quickly realizes something is wrong, but Sky locks her and the girl in the closet where the exhausted man lies. Sebastian, meanwhile, pretends to have a cast on his arm and then attaches a finger to it. On the way out, the man notices that Sky is somewhat stiff, but the girl says she's just concentrating on the case. Chris, meanwhile, asks his daughter to get outside through the vent and let them out. Sebastian arrives at the bank and gets into the vault. Jamie admits that she took the bonds in case her husband refuses to grant her a divorce or wants to take her daughter. Chris realizes that the bandits will be back soon. Chris's daughter manages to break free, and she helps her parents free themselves. A few minutes later, an enraged Skye and her accomplice show up at the house. Sebastian says they only want Jamie. When Chris attacks him, the man yells at Skye to shoot him. However, the girl unexpectedly shoots Sebastian. Chris manages to escape from Skye and uses the remote control to switch off the lights. The man gains strength and pounces on the criminal, but quickly loses his advantage. Skye prepares to kill him, but is suddenly attacked by Jamie. Skye proves to be quite resilient, and with her weapon, she continues to crawl towards the wounded Chris, who has his wife behind him. Skye draws her weapon, and suddenly, there is a deafening pop. It turns out it was Chris's daughter who shot the girl. Jamie hugs her daughter, and the police arrives to the house. Chris leans over to Skye and learns that her real name is Margaret. After that, the girl stops breathing. This is the end of the film. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Give this video a like. Write in the comments what you think about this film, and see you in new videos.